we're ready. Okay, so we're going live now. Does that mean that we actually are live? I think we are. Yes. No. Yes, we are live. Awesome, awesome, awesome. It's the season of the wise with Elizabeth Eleanor, and we've got our beautiful Barbara Callan. Barbara is a beautiful woman that I've known for quite a few years now and lives not that far from me. And Barb's in the same sort of industry as what I am, but she has been all good. She has been in this process for around about the same amount of time. But what I'm trying to say is, what I know of you, Barbara, is that you are world renowned in your talent, in your genius, in your intuitive knowing. You know, I know that you've got people all around the world that you work with. So let me just start, because what's really beautiful is, Barb, you are the last of this season of wise women that I've asked to come on here and just to share the wisdom of your talent and your magic. So can I just ask you, so thank you so much for being on. And
thank
can
you
I
for
just
asking me.
Can I just ask you to share a little bit about who you are and what you do before we jump in any further?
Absolutely. So I'm originally from New Zealand. I came here in 2010, I think, just on a just for a brief stop. On my way back, I was doing a contract in the Middle East, training Arabic speaking English teachers. So my background is in education, of course, and I've worked with many different types, from primary to secondary to adult education. But my focus has always been on learning and behavior and difficulties, learning difficulties, behavioral difficulties. And my strength, my intuitive strength, which I have innately, but in a practical sense, always allowed me to know what was the right thing to do, or because I always knew what was going on for the student. I could just tap into their energy, but I didn't have a structure for it, didn't have a name for it. I began the journey, I guess, into spirituality and this kind of energy work maybe 30, maybe even 40 years ago, when I went to a meditation group. And in the meditation group, I thought that everybody else had remarkable skills and I had none. But what I didn't realize was that mine just needed waking up. I just need to remember. And that was all. And so in that space, I learned the hands-on healing, the working on the body, off the body, how to send healing to someone, how to do psychometry, so how to hold someone and read the vibrations of an item, of someone I didn't know. And so I found that this stuff sort of came naturally to me. But I learned some protocols around protecting my energy, protocols around what's appropriate, what's not. And then I gradually began to do that for other people, just to help other people. But I combined this at the same time with, I learned to massage. I was working with profoundly handicapped children at the time. And I thought that learning to massage I might be able to do that in my spare time. What a joke. There was no spare time. But so I learned that, but then I also learned polarity therapy, which is off the body and working with the field of energy. And I found that that was extremely powerful. So from doing the psychometry, I began to do that for people and found that I was always surprised that it was accurate. So I didn't have that self-belief. So I just kind of, one thing led to another, I could guess. My process and progress has always been organic, just moving organically from one thing to the next, to the next. And things just always presented themselves at the right time. I began to read cards, really just again for friends. And then I ended up, teaching during the week and reading cards at markets at the weekend. Again, the same thing. People would pick up my card and come to see me. At that stage, I was only doing it face to face. And it wasn't until I took my cards when I went to the Middle East in 2010. And when I left there, a lot of the people who were on working for the same company on similar contracts said to me, but how will we connect with you? And I said, well, look, this Skype, maybe we'll work it out. So I just began to do that remotely, still using cards. But then I can still remember the day when I was reading cards at a health place in the Blue Mountains, and this woman came in and I just began to read the cards, and I had automatically shut my eyes. I spoke for 20 minutes about the stuff. And then when I sort of came to a pause, I opened my eyes and I thought, I've only put out 5 cards. Where did that 20 minutes come from? And I went, oh, okay, I get it. Put the cards away. So the minute I put the cards away, it all became stronger. So the ability to see, to know. But more than that, it was the ability to be empathic. So my empathy, which has always been my curse, meaning I could feel everything for everybody else. I could feel their pain, their sadness. I'd be crying about people I didn't know simply because, and I didn't even know that I was tapping into their field and picking up their emotional pain. So that's kind of crippling when you find that, you're going to the shopping mall and you just go in there and everybody in the shopping mall walking slowly, trying to fill their gap with buying something. And I'm picking up all that stuff. And so eventually I leave and I get in the car exhausted and I think, but why did I go there? What did I go in there for? I've gone into a daze merely because of the overload of picking up everybody. So I learned how to deal with that, how to defrag that, how to protect my energy in a very specific way. I've practiced being invisible, which I know works because I nearly got myself, I ended up on the bonnet of a car because the man literally didn't see me, but I forgot.
Oh, wow.
Shouldn't be practicing it. He accelerated towards me as I was in the middle of the road. And then when he slammed on his brakes and saw me at the last minute, he got out of the car and he said, I'm so sorry. I just didn't see you. And I thought, it really does work. So there are many techniques and things that I use. But my passion is really about, and this is where I've combined my educational background, is why would I not want to show other people how to do what I can do? Why would I believe that we are all wired for intuition. I believe that we all have our gut feeling. But if we don't know what it is, then how can we tap into it? How can we pay attention to it? And so from running retreats, from doing workshops, from creating cards as a tool to help people. These are all my things that I'm really passionate about. So could I be doing myself out of a job? Maybe, but I think there's a lot of people in the world, so I'll just put it that way. So I feel that what it is that I offer is something different because, so it's always my flavor, and there's a million people in the world doing similar things, yourself included, Elizabeth, but we each have our own vibration or tune or tone that we put out, and people are drawn to the one that works for them. And so, there's never a scarcity of people. There's just people who find your tone, people who find the vibration, the message that you're putting out there. That's what it's always about.
Absolutely. And yeah, absolutely. There's no scarcity involved because it's a vibrational match, a contract of some sort. So, talking about doing ourselves out of jobs or whatever, even those that are tuned in, sometimes you just want to have that validation or that confirmation of as two or more people come together, right? They say there's a new frequency when you're connecting with somebody else through that process, and both getting the same thing, or just getting some sort of validation. Sometimes that's really important. And so, talking about people being empathic, I think that where we're at in consciousness at the moment, more and more people are waking up to their abilities and their magic and their intuition. Um, how is it that, like, what do you find when it comes to people that are seeking and are looking to get some support? What is it that you're finding out there in the world at the moment, and how do you support people to do that?
Yeah, okay. Great question. Look, anybody that's seeking, I feel, is already got a flickering light within. When I'm sitting with someone, and as you say, when we sit with someone or someone comes in, there is a different frequency. There is an energy exchange that occurs immediately. Um, if I'm sitting with somebody who is intuitive, I know instantly because I feel it.
Mm,
I feel that instantly. I do feel that a lot of people at the moment are questing, they're seeking, they're wanting to know. And not, a lot of people are wanting to know the bigger picture. What is it? I was speaking with a woman yesterday, and she was telling me about how exhausted she was. And I said, but I'm exhausted too. I said, I think particularly when we're sensitive, we pick up on what is going on in the collective. And what I mean by that is what is going on in the energy field that everybody is sharing. I call that the matrix of energy. And maybe it's part of service that we are able to then feed in a different frequency of energy into that matrix and somehow dispel or just defrag a little bit for people that are feeling particularly charged. Um, I think that the energy, particularly at the moment, is volatile. And when we feed in peace, if we can think of it in this way, that peace and love and harmony are trump cards, and they are always going to override fear. So if you can think it in that way, that really um, we're playing poker here. You've got the winning cards in your hand if you know how to use them. And you
mm,
can override, and I'm not talking about taking somebody's sovereignty away from them, but you can override an energy. You can override an energy in a room with the frequency that you are holding. And so people who are seeking, people who are worried and concerned, um, really looking at, so what is it triggering within you? Because microcosm, macrocosm, it's all within us, and that's where the work is. And so
yes.
the work, the service, what we came here to do is to turn the flame up for ourselves firstly, but then for others.
Mm, mm. Yeah, I agree. And so, um, when it comes to being intuitive and, um, stepping into that and truly aligning and trusting that intuitive nudge and inspiration, what do you think would be, like, from your experience, what is it that people are struggling with the most when it comes to, like, what's blocking them from that?
I think one of the things that blocks people is fear, and fear of, there are people who are afraid that anything to do with this is to do with dark energy. Anything to do with the world of the unseen must naturally be not good.
Mm,
And because of if we look at the kind of predictive programming, all of the stuff around many movies, many Hollywood stuff around, you know, um, dark spirits, etc., etc., or ghosts, all of that sort of stuff. And if people buy into that and get then afraid of that. Um, you know, any of that sort of stuff. Well, who's got the power? The person in the physical body.
Mm.
If we're going to talk about that, spirits that are sort of not rested, that they're just unrested spirits. Sorry, what was your question? I just forgot.
Well, yeah, I was just like, what is it that blocks people from really
Ah,
stepping into their intuition? And it's like, as you were saying, that fear of the unknown, and then that association that we're conditioned into believe that there's some evil or some. I
yeah.
love what you just said about souls being in unrest.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. So and it's interesting because I've seen a lot of that recently, and particularly when I went to the UK at Christmas to stay with a friend, and I'd been in her house maybe 3 or 4 days, and I said, "Who's the person outside the kitchen?" Now, I don't see these things very often, but there was a figure outside the kitchen that just kept looking in the window, and I said, and there's a woman upstairs in that bedroom. She's got her hair up in a knot. And she said, "You've been here 4 days." And she said, "The paranormal activity has increased by about 1,000%." And I said straight away, "Okay, so what's happening is they know, excuse me, that I have got the ability to help them. And if I combine that with you, this other person, you also have the ability. So let's sit down together. I'll open a portal and we'll ask all of these unrested spirits, these spirits wandering around who are in the in between. We'll ask them to pass through." So that's exactly what we did. I opened a portal. We sat, created sacred space. I opened a portal, and there were just hordes of them that just poured through. And I could feel the sadness. I could feel all of the stuff, but they just kept moving and moving and moving until there were just a few left, and they were not ready. They didn't want to go. And I just said, "Okay, all right, I'm going to close now. And that was it. It was complete." So I think, there can be, excuse me, there can be feelings that we have that hold spirits back, that are not able to cross over, or it can be something that they are incomplete with, that they have
Yeah,
regretted.
yeah.
Um, and maybe they even themselves have fear of some conditioning, of some religious, you know, um, situation.
Beliefs.
Yeah,
Mm,
yeah.
mm, mm.
So, yes, that whole area it's not really it's not my greatest interest, because I'm more interested in a more expansive thing, but I do understand that world. Yeah.
It's a very interesting world. I'll give you a little time to for your breath, for your voice.
I'll just get, thank you.
It is a very interesting world, and I think that you know um, when you're on a spiritual journey as a healer or as an intuitive, or whatever we want to call ourselves, um, empathic, whatever. When you're really truly on your path, you go through that world, because I've also had dabblings in, working with entities, or, the unrested, as you say. I like that. I like that better than saying entities, because entities like has a definition and is implies in our conditioning that there's something evil about it, but it's not necessarily. It's just people that haven't been able to go all the way through the bridge.
Mm,
Um, and yeah, I've had my moments with that energy myself, and got caught up there, because people, like you could just put your whole business could be based on that. But I'd love to, like, I always love these conversations, because they often go in places I don't necessarily think, hadn't envisioned. Um, I'd love to have a conversation, because I think that this is part of the spiritual development that we go through, is those, like those moments of, it's almost like initiations, right?
mm,
Of
mm. Absolutely.
doing this for a little while and being able to become proficient with it and then moving on and not getting stuck there and,
Mm,
finding the next level and doing that and until and it's continuous development, isn't it? But
absolutely.
is also like finding your flame, as you said, like what is
Mm.
my flavor that I'm moving into. So I'd love to know what you do when you work with someone. What is your flavor as such?
um, so what basically what I do is I still the energy. I make connection, and usually I do that by breathing with them, and then I drop literally in opening the high heart, the heart. So now we've got Christ light and this beautiful love energy, and in that I'm able to reach over and literally connect in with them. So now, and I always work with my eyes shut, so it's like I've closed down a sense, and now I'm on my inner screen. Um, so often I will see what's coming up for people. I will see their life path. I will see what's blocking, what's not, what maybe needs to clear. Often what I get is metaphoric. So the pictures will come and as I speak it out, I hear the message. So I always think this is so clever that you give me these words, but actually it means something else. And I'm the interpreter. And often I won't know what I'm talking about. So that sort of you could call it a channeling, whatever. It goes for about mm, randomly 20 minutes. Sometimes it's 15, sometimes it's 25, and then it's like the tap gets turned off, and I will come out of that, and then I'll just say to the other person, does that have any resonance with you? And I was going to say 99% of the time, but 100% of the time, they'll say yes, and this and this and this. And then I'll go backwards and forwards and we dig down into whatever it might be. Do we need to clear this? What's the fear? And then I'll ask, um, so is this a past life or is it a present life? And I'll get the really clear answer on that. And then if it's a past life, I get shown that like I'm watching a movie. And um, I didn't learn this, it's a remembrance. It just came, it just happened. Um, and then what I'll do is because the past life always brings with it a strength, but also sometimes an irrational fear or dislike or barrier or something. So I'll just mute the part that's troubling to us right now that we don't need because we want to move forward. Usually people really want to move forward. People want to know, why do I have that fear around money? What is that? What am I carrying? Is it my childhood? Is it this life or is it that life? And I just ask, it'll show. I'm always working through someone's higher self and all of those souls that are, all of those energies that are soul contracted to work with them. Um, so I'm very clear about who may come into the sacred space. Um, and we can also ask about somebody else because I'm tapped into someone else's field. They just can give me a first name and I will be able to read that person instantly because I'm going through them. If
Mm,
if they want to bring in some healing or something for someone else, I will always ask, may we do this right now for this person? And sometimes I get a no, and that's fine. It's like, okay, I'll back away. It's not now. So I don't, I'm very clear about not infringing sovereignty of someone else. If someone's where they're at on their journey, and if there's something they need to be doing, then get on and do it. And I'm not going to interfere with that. But if somebody is questing, absolutely I'll help. Absolutely.
mm,
Because
mm.
they're asking.
Yeah,
So they're open.
yeah, yeah, that's really beautiful. Um, it's it's just so time for all of us to reawaken our intuitive path It's so many of us, and I'd love to know, so many of us have had those past lives of being, tortured or traumatized in so, or to death, for sharing magic or being in our truth and our wisdom, as women. Do you find that that's coming out more and more at the moment, or have you noticed any patterns with that?
Yes, look, I think so, definitely. I think that as people step into the awareness and the feeling that, because I get this sense, and it might just be personal to me, but I get this sense of urgency. You know, I
I'm
didn't
getting
come
it
here.
too.
I didn't come here to muck around. It's like if there's stuff to be done, this is my watch that I'm on right now. And I'm not going to have any mucking around. I'm going to play hard out because that's what I came here. That's what I put my hand up for. And if it's uncomfortable and if it has compromises, so what? It's not
Mm,
the end of the world. It's just
mm,
like, put that other stuff aside and let's get on with this.
yeah.
And, take that step. Nothing can be that scary, and I think when I say to people, when I'm working with them, you know that you're really intuitive. And every time people are like, yes, I know. And I said, well, that's not a curse. It is a gift. But if you know how to work with it, it doesn't have to be the thing that trips you up. It doesn't have to be that, you're open to every single messenger that comes your way. Because in all of this work, discernment is key. And if you don't
Mm,
know how to discern, you will, whether the energy that's knocking at the door is of the highest light and frequency, and that is always my rider that I will put over something. It has to be of the highest light and frequency, and I don't want anything else. Nothing less than that. Thank you.
mm,
But yes, I do feel that more and more people are interested, are questing, are because it is the sixth sense, so to speak. It is the unknown, but it is the most powerful. And just
yes.
because we can't see it, in this world of the density of the third dimension, just because we can't see it doesn't mean to say it's not powerful. I know how powerful it is. I can be working with somebody thousands of kilometers away, and I can affect a change, or energetically, in them instantaneously.
Mm,
And what is that about? That's
mm,
you know that's wild. Um, you know, it's so fascinating. And what I would say too is that the more we do this work, the more light we carry in the cells of our body, the more animals react differently.
yes.
Cats, but all animals, they know that because they can see. I believe they can see our energy field.
I don't know if you've noticed, and like I've questioned, is it because we've now got access to everyone around the world through the internet and the wires and or like the ethers, but I just feel like the consciousness between humans and animals have definitely shifted, and
Oh yeah.
you see all the time this connection that is happening and communication between us and them, and like even we've got a fighter fish here, and I've had fighter fish before. I've had fighter fish for years, like fish before when I was little. Now you go up to feed and like the little flippers come out, and it's like they want some attention, like want to say hi and have a moment together, like there's this real affiliation between me and the fish, and Tim and the fish is so beautiful, it's just magical moving in, and the same with plants,
Mm,
having
absolutely.
that same connection,
Mm,
and so I really like what you was just saying, like it is, so there's no time to muck around,
no.
and so many people are getting into that space of recognizing, like when you can come from the realization that this is just one of hundreds and thousands of lives that the soul is actually experiencing, that's when it's, like becomes a commitment to growth, because it's not an end at the end of this life, it's a continuation. And so as much as you can get, correct or clear or re-establish, reactivate in this life, then you're supporting each life that comes after that, so that we're collapsing the time.
Absolutely.
And so, Barb, I'd love to have you share, because one of the things that you've moved into and evolved as part of your creation and your magic is these beautiful cards that you have created. Can you just show us the cards, and also let us take us through the journey of how that all started? Like, where did the inspiration come from in the first place?
Well, I would say during the COVID madness, if you're living alone and you're it's like I had this inspirational moment where I just thought, gee, I really want something, a tool to, and this is my teaching background, I really want something to help people so that people have got something to access into a thing. What would it be? Should I write a book? What should I do? And then I thought, maybe I should create some cards. So that's how it really came about, from this drive to give people, because I'm all about, I want to empower people. I, I want to do myself out of a job. No, I don't really, but I want people to be empowered so that they can go, okay, I need to ask the universe about this.
Mm.
So I created what I call Divine Ascension Oracle cards that are frequency cards. They are, and this was Lordy, it was a 4-year process during that COVID badness. So first of all, I knew that I wanted to create 4 suits. These cards are about the different frequencies that go from in our ascension, from the denser, which I call duality, because when we're in that denser energy, we're trapped in the duality of right and wrong. And that's when people they will argue, for their point of view. And I'm not, that's all about me. It's all about that one-dimensional thing. It's not about you and I. It's just about me, and I'm right and you must listen to me. And so that's a very contractive energy. So I started with duality, which is, I'm just going to see if I can find. So here, so what I've done is I didn't want a picture. I wanted just one word. So this would be, it's the denser color, and that's confusion. And then I put just a few words on that, which I'm just going to have to grab my glasses to read. There is a book that goes with these as well, but this just says, may just be the fluidity of time or option. So if you can't make a decision, it might just be you need to wait if you're in confusion. Now, these are also frequency cards. So each card, so there are 11 cards in each suit, 4 suits, moving up in frequency. So we're starting down here at duality, and we all dip in and out of these things at times. And the way to use these cards is, if I'm questing, if I'm stuck with something, if I've got a charge on something, and when I talk about a charge, is like when I've been triggered by something. I've got something's triggering me. I want to know, okay, so what is it? Because I want to know what I need to learn from that. I'm all about the learning. What do I need to learn? If I don't learn it, it'll come around again. So what do I need to get from that situation? So I'm shuffling the cards with my question. What do I need to get from this situation? So perhaps I get the card confusion. I read that. I can go to the little book that goes with it, the little guidebook, if I want to, and read a lot more about it. There is also a frequency on the bottom of the cards, which for confusion and duality is 741 hertz. Now, what you do is taking that card, go to YouTube, look up Rife Frequency 741, and play that music, and it will help you shift where you are stuck. So these are the tool. So From duality, we move to awakening, where I'm just becoming a bit more aware, and it's green because it's all about the growth. That card is energy, and it says you are becoming more sensitive to energy. So that's going to be the answer to your question, whatever it might be. And that frequency is 369 hertz. So you're going to play that music, and it's going to help you to clear that. Then we've got this beautiful purple, which is that's alignment. Now, alignment I love, because alignment is about synchronicity. It's about that beautiful, smooth, coherent energy. And so that's the purple, which is a higher frequency again. And that is 432 hertz, which you would play. And then we have
And can I just ask, so when you're doing, sorry to interrupt, but the frequencies, so when you're like, basically what they do is support you, the lower ones, they support you to get out of it. Is it the same with the alignment ones? Like what?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
to move to that next level
To move to
each
that next,
time.
yeah,
Okay,
each time.
yeah,
And
yeah,
the frequency, the frequency on the card is actually embedded into the cards. So the
awesome. Yeah,
cards actually have the frequency. There's an overall frequency in the whole deck, which is 528 hertz, which is the frequency of love. So
yeah.
every card has two frequencies embedded into it. And then, of course, we have, so that's Ascension, which, of course, is the higher frequency, the light colors, the gold, the white, the pink. And that's beauty. Seeing beauty will uplift your energy. So, so these cards, yeah, they took me 4 years. Why did they take so long? Well, it just, finding the word, working, it was, for me, it was always sacred work. Light my candle, create the space, and then just allow it all to pour in. Then in creating something like this, then you need to find the designer. And I did. I found a beautiful woman in the States to do that for me, but she had a breakdown in the middle of it. She went missing, and I didn't give up on her. I just thought, no, this is going to be fine. And interestingly, when I first connected with her, we had a little chat by Zoom in her car, and she said to me, I don't work with everybody that contacts me. I feel their energy first. And that's why I'm just having the conversation, the Zoom. So that, so she did come through, and then of course you have to find a printer. So it's a
It's a
journey.
process, isn't it? Because it's
Such a
the
journey.
channeling of the information, which is divine
That's
timing.
it's totally, and it's and the stuff, the creating of the cards is just the beginning. Then you've got to
Yeah,
do the next thing. Then you've got to do the next thing. Then you've got to have the landing page. Then you've got to have the IBSN number. There's just steps on the way, but just trusting that, this is meant to be, and it will be. And, not getting upset because it's not flowing the way that I think it should flow.
yeah.
I think one of the greatest things for us, particularly in this time, is, working intentionally and learning to take your hands off the steering wheel, learning to
Mm,
put that intention out there with absolute clarity, that single note that doesn't have any other thoughts, just that note, that intention, and then step back and just allow the divine work to happen. And when you trust that, that's when you've got magic. And then,
yes.
we're all human, sure, but you tend to worry less because you know that, well, I've just, I've done my part. I've put
Yeah.
that out there, and it doesn't mean to say that I don't do anything. No, of course I take action, but it's divinely guided action. And each
Yes.
step will be shown to me. Always, always, always.
And that's so important in, as we're starting to wrap up a little bit. It's that recognition of not being separate, not being alone,
Mm.
like of doing our part and co-creating with consciousness, with the universe, or whatever the language is that you've got. And um when it comes to the cards and your work, Barbara, are you using the cards in your work as well? Like, do you
I
as
don't
like an additional?
as a tool.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't, but I could. Um, I do use them myself because I like to get a bit of drop of daily guidance. I can get that guidance without cards, but I do like the visual.
it's
And I
fun, isn't it?
it
It's
is.
bringing a bit of fun into it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And look, just so many things about even about the size of the cards for the shuffle, the weight of the cards for the shuffle. That and I've used cards many, for a long time. Uh, Tarot cards, guidance cards, but also bridge. I played bridge for a while, backwards and forwards. So yes, I think these I think are for people there. Like I know people who use them in their particular practice therapy work. They finish the session with a card, and it seems to be very, very helpful for people.
Yeah. And I like the fact that um they've got the scope to allow the guidance to come through at the same time. Like
Absolutely.
they're not just set in stone and you're following the cards.
Mm.
You're interacting with the cards.
Absolutely, and they are exactly that as a guidance card.
Mm,
They are to guide you, and if you want to go deeper, if you need a bit more, like what's underneath that, then you would shuffle. You're working with them, and they're working with you, and because they have the frequency embedded into them, that's a. It's like they begin to heal you. Like I've held them up to people on the screen, and there are people who felt the frequency the minute I hold them up. They've gone, "Oh my God,"
yeah,
um, and that's exciting to me.
yeah,
I understand how it works, but it is exciting.
yeah. It's bringing, we do live in a 3D world. We are physical bodies. We are living as humans. Um, and we are in those other realms at the same time. This is the type of work we do. But when we lose the joy and innocence, and the childlike wonder of it all, that's when we find we're back in the ego, right?
Oh, absolutely, and I think that go back to that phrase that I use because it's I get it straight away, and that's just taking your hands off the steering wheel and being
Yeah,
just loosening the controls, you know.
yeah,
And so many of us are caught in that need to control, and that rises out of fear and worry, and micromanaging, and what will happen next, and how will I know, and what will he look like, and what will his shoes be like, and you'd be surprised what people feel they need to know, you know.
I'd love for you to share actually, just like a daily life of a someone that's intuitive like you and supports people all around the world. What sort of questions do you get on?
Well, well, there are those questions, like where should I be, and should I be in the shop, and when will he be coming, and what season will it be, and blah blah blah. And look, I do understand that for some people, the agitation is so much, and the desire is so strong that they don't want to miss it. And when I say you are not going to miss this, you cannot miss this. So lighten up and just go and have fun. It's coming for you. And that's a whole new concept. That's coming
Mm,
for you. Just don't worry.
yeah.
But particularly at this time, a lot of people are going through relationship stuff. A lot of people, and you know, macrocosm, microcosm, or the other way around. It's within us. Fix this here first. But also for some people, I always see in a relationship, it's like a circle that goes around, and we come back up to 12 o'clock again. And we either decide to go around again, or for some people, it's okay, I've got what I needed here. Our contract is done. And so we
Mm,
can complete. And so when we see it in that way, it's less of a drama, it's less of a catastrophe. I guess the thing is that are people ready for that. It's you know.
It's a big one, isn't it? Because I've I've had conversations with people, women just recently about friendships and like um we've got society and what we believe is right and what integrity is, and like there's all these definitions that we've made as human beings. And then, as you said, then we've got these contracts, like we've got these moments in time where we're learning from this other person. And sometimes the reflection, like it's
Mm.
a reflection. The reflection is done and dusted because you've come to the conclusion, you've come to the realization, you've had the epiphany, you've shifted the vibration within you, and now it's time to move on. And yet, that can be very challenging for people if there's no breakdown or break up, or some sort of catastrophe or drama or trauma that says, well, now I can say goodbye because now I can justify it because of this. It's But when you and I know that when you move into those higher frequencies, it's a beautiful place to be when two conscious people go, ah, actually it's time for us to leave this friendship or whatever, and wish you well, and yeah, wish you well, and maybe we'll see each other and maybe we won't, but that recognition of growth and just allowance.
Yes,
um
I think there is a lot of that happening
mm,
with friendships and connections completing, and there's nothing wrong. It's just I need to get something else from somebody else,
mm,
or I just need to be doing something in a different way. And I'm reminded of a very dear friend of mine who divorced her first husband, and they were divorced for 12 years, and then they reconnected, but they needed to be apart to do their learning. And so 12 years, and I said to her, oh, so you've been around the houses, the astrological houses, 12 years. Yes. And so they got married again, and are wonderfully happy. But so there was nothing wrong with them being, going their own separate ways because they needed to do stuff. They needed different
mm,
experiences.
yeah.
And, I just think it's a really beautiful, just not to be in judgment on yourself.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And the growth, spiritual growth can be a lonely road because you can view it that way sometimes, because it's truly growth between you and yourself, you and the creator, you know
Absolutely.
um and it's so beautiful to have things like your cards and people like you and myself, and others to support you on your journey, like to just help validate that and clarify situations. So, Barb, if I was to ask, anyone that's watching, I'd love for you to put in the comments any questions that you would like to ask Barbara about activating your intuition or anything like that. How do people get in contact with you, Barbara?
Thank you very much. I've got a website, barbaracallan.com. That's my website. So you can drop a thing there, or you can find me on Facebook and connect with me there. And I do have a landing page for the cards, which is on the front, the opening page of my website. So
Awesome. I'd
yeah,
love for you to put your website in the comments as well, so people can
I
access,
will
jump
do.
in.
I
Yeah.
will do. Yeah, yeah.
Um, and also I just had that thought, how do you work with people? Like, do you do several sessions? Can people come in and jump in and have a one-off? Like, how is it that you work if anyone's interested?
Thank you. So I have a little package on my website, which is a three, I think it's three, yeah, it is three session package. Usually it's an hour, 60 minutes. I do have half an hour, but I find, particularly if it's a first time with someone, I find half an hour is tricky because I can't stop the energy flow. If it's running, it's running. So I also have I think it's just a 15-minute thing if somebody wants one question, because sometimes people do. Normally I work by Zoom or phone or WhatsApp or any number of those kind of things. Occasionally people come to see me face to face. I don't mind. And generally what I'll say to people is, I'm going to be having my eyes shut, so I don't need to see you. I have a
Yeah.
lot of people that are just phone. So I'm seeing you on the inside. I'm tapping into you. I'm feeling you. That's how I know you. And also, I say to people, what happens inside a session is it sort of gets wiped from my mind, meaning
Mm.
because I'm in a different space.
Yeah,
And
I have the same. Yeah.
so when I come out of it, and people can say to me, well, do you remember last time we spoke about, and I'll go, I have
No
literally
idea.
have no recollection what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And that that's a safeguard, but it also, because it means that I don't carry the stuff. I've
Mm.
got to defrag.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
because I've been inside someone's field, I've got to pull myself back and make sure that the connection is clear. So there's all of that sort of the safety stuff, you could say, the health and
Yeah.
wellness.
Health and wellness, that's true. Spiritual health and
Yeah,
wellness.
yeah, yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Barbara. It has been a pleasure. And it's we both see each other on a regular basis, but it's so nice to just have an hour just to have a chat and find out a little bit more about what you do, and have you sharing your wisdom. And I really when I put this series together, um you popped in and I was like, oh, I'd be beautiful to finish off with some wise wisdom from Barbara, like it's been such a beautiful process for me to make it just like 4 strong, potent sessions,
Mm.
not something that's dragged on for too long. And it's just been a really beautiful progress for me throughout, and very different people all the way through. So I definitely suggest that you go in and watch all of the sessions. Unfortunately, Facebook now deletes all the Facebook Lives after 30 days. So, watching all the way through and connecting with the people that we've had on here is a beautiful way to just start, living in your own magic and living in your intuitive wisdom yourself. So take care, everyone. Thank you so much, Barbara.
Oh, thank you, Elizabeth. It's been lovely. It really, really has. Great joy.
Take care. See
Thank you
ya.
so much. Thank you. Bye.